my dear viewers, welcome to my channel, and in this video I will tell you about a famous book which was written by Emily Bronte, which is called Wuthering Heights. The story of the book starts from a moment when a person whose name was Mr Lockwood came to an estate which was called Wuthering Heights, and the master of this estate, whose name was Mr Heathcliff, gave him a pretty cold shoulder. He was not polite with him, he was not open with him, he wasn't ready to accept him with wide arms, with wide and open arms. So he was very rough and he was very isolated from his new neighbor. So suddenly when he started living with them, because of the bad weather, he didn't come to his home threatening reach, so to his estate. He was living with them for a few days. And when he was in his room, he suddenly found the diary at which was a side Catherine Earnshaw, and in the probably middle side was Catherine Linton, and the only person with whom he got pretty close and in a very good relationship was a maid whose name was Nellie, but her actual name was Ellen Dean, and he starts asking her questions. If she knows who Catherine Earnshaw or Catherine Linton was, and he asked her to tell him a story of this girl, of this woman probably, and she started telling him about her and about her life, and he found out that Catherine was from a very wealthy family, and she grew together with Heathcliff and with her older brother Hindley, and Heathcliff was an orphan. He was just taken into this family by Catherine and Hindley's father, Mr Earnshaw, Because of the street backgrounds of Heathcliff, he was not very polite, he was not very, gentleman-like kind of a man, so, and Hindley, he was raised as a gentleman who tried to be polite, be gentleman-like kind of a boy, and a man in the future was not very in a good relationship with Heathcliff. The only person that got close with Heathcliff at the course of Heathcliff's life was Catherine. She got close with him not immediately but gradually, and also gradually she started understanding his mind, his thoughts, his his soul, and when the time passes, the Catherine and Hindley's father died, and all the management of the estate, all the management of the house were given into the Hindley's hand, and therefore Hindley became very arrogant. I think he became very, haughty, arrogant. He started realizing that he is the master of the estate, and because of that he became haughty and arrogant, and so he started to realize that he was the master of the estate, and he became very powerful and very arrogant, as I already said before, so, and he just got married very, very early, but his wife was very arrogant too, very haughty, very polite, very, faked kind of a woman, but suddenly she dies in the course of giving birth to their mutual son, whose name will be Catherine Earnshaw, and probably because of the loss of his wife, Hindley became even more arrogant and haughty, and he just got angry and angrier with Heathcliff and with his own sisters. So they began running to the moors to relax and to take the weight on their shoulders off, to thought about everything they lived, everything they thought about Hindley and about themselves. And when they become grown-ups, I would say, they suddenly fall in love. They began realizing that they fall in love, But in the course of an accident, Catherine just meets another very attractive, very polite, very, very on the contrary of a Heathcliff man, whose name will be Edgar Linton. And in the course of this accident, Catherine began being more, more sophisticated. She began teasing Heathcliff even more than she did it in the past. So, she began teasing him in a funny way at the beginning, but at the course of the events, she began teasing him of being very rude, very brute, very, tough kind of a boy, because although she knew that he was like that since the beginning, so because of her meeting Edgar Linton, and because of her becoming so haughty in some way to Heathcliff, they began quarreling. And they didn't see each other as much as they saw in the past. So, and when time just comes, Edgar got closer and closer and closer to Catherine, and suddenly Catherine comes to tell her of the story to Nellie, who was their maid, who was their servant, and she said that she got a marriage proposal from Edgar Linton, and she asked her, must she take this marriage proposal? So, and Nellie kept asking her questions. Why do you love him? Why do you love him? She just answered in a very simple way, because he's cheerful, because he's young, because he's very attractive. And Nellie kind of concluded, and only because of that you want to marry him, don't you? she said kind of, yes, I do want because of that, you know. So, but she kind of, you know, confuses herself in her thoughts, in her reflections over her love and her relationship with Heathcliff, you know. And suddenly Heathcliff just comes to the door, and he hears that she will agree to this proposal of Edgar Linton, to this marriage proposal, and he got very, very angry with her, and he just goes away into this long kind of a trip. And in the course of the time, Heathcliff didn't go back, but as time passed on, Catherine already became a wife of Edgar, a wife of this house, of his estate. But although her soul impacted on this kind of breakdown, kind of go away very, very hard. She got ill, but as the time passed, she just healed and became a wife of Edgar Linton and wife of his estate, and kind of forgot Heathcliff, you know. So, but when Heathcliff got back, he thinks he must take revenge on Edgar and on Catherine, and he makes a decision that he must fall in love just with Edgar's sister Isabella, but because Isabella was very young and silly, she thought that Heathcliff was very, very in love with her, genuinely and truly, and she just kind of eloped with him at the course of the events, and she just kind of, you know, falls in love with him. But as the time passes, Heathcliff and Catherine began quarreling, and because of that, Catherine gets a nervous breakdown, and she was out of her mind. She already didn't realize what was true, what was not, you know. But she was giving a birth to a baby, and suddenly she died. And because of the unspokenness that he had with Catherine in the past, and because of the death of Catherine, he became very, very angry, very, very like a stone, very tough, very rough and tumble, and he just started getting angry with everybody, with Isabella, with his wife, with even this house, even the servants, and he just turns into a beast that started getting angry with everybody, with his wife, with the servants, with even this house, and even with the item that surrounded this house. So Isabella kind of started to realize that Heathcliff was not in love with her, that he is a beast, and even because of the birth of the son, she didn't want their son to be raised by his father, by this beast, and she just kind of escapes into another house, into another home, you know. And Edgar starts raising his daughter, whose name will be Katie to Kathy, you know, and Kathy will be very tender, very young, very funny young girl, and she just started falling in love with her mother's niece, exactly Harriton, but at the beginning she fell in love with Heathcliff's son, whose name will be Linton Heathcliff, you know. But you know, you will see by yourself what will happen next. And my point of view that is found with this book, I like in this book particularly that this book was and is historical. I love history as a subject in school, and love history as a topic for a talk, you know. This is a great example of what historical romance and novels can be to humanity, to readers, as this book became for me. I recommend this book for everybody to read and to get those impressions, to get those emotions that I got in the course of reading it. So I hope that you liked my review. I hope you will watch my videos in the future. Thank you. Bye.